Welcome to my Kickstarter for Authors crash course. I am Kayla Ann, author of Well of Dreams, and I am here to help you launch a successful Kickstarter. If you've been following along with me, you have already set up your pre-launch page, and hopefully you are starting to gather your backers on that pre-launch page. However, you have another job to do. You still need to fill out the rest of your campaign. At this point, you've probably created just enough of your campaign to get it approved by Kickstarter, but now you need to fill in the rest of the elements. Now, different campaigns are going to have different elements, but in running my 2 campaigns and in analyzing various others, like probably 50 other campaigns, I have noticed that there seems to be a similar set of elements that are required in every successful Kickstarter. So we're going to look at each of them in depth in this video today, but honestly, it's not going to be as in depth as I would like. So I'm going to write even more in-depth notes in my Kickstarter for Authors Kickstarter ebook. If you're interested in that ebook, make sure that you comment ebook down below so that I can send you the link. At the very top of your campaign, you're going to want to have some type of eye-catching hook. Maybe this is a question or a surprising statement. Maybe it's your elevator pitch or a one-liner from your blurb. Maybe it includes your tagline or maybe some comparable titles or even some of your tropes. Go and look at the campaigns that are doing well right now and see what their first couple of lines are to see what hook might work best for your campaign. For my first campaign, I had the first line of my blurb, which says, "Gods predicted the end, but they never counted on mankind's will to survive." I then go into talking about comparative titles like Percy Jackson, Hunger Games, and Cinder. And then I invite my potential backers, go ahead and take a read. Open up the prologue in the first chapter here. Then I have a trope picture. It is pretty standard to have this trope picture somewhere in your campaign, typically toward the top, because you want to break up all of these large chunks of text with different graphics and images. You don't want your reader to get so lost in the words that it's not appealing to them anymore. We buy with our eyes, so keep it pretty, add in some graphics. Next, you're going to need to have an About the Book section that definitely has your entire blurb. And again, maybe this is where you want to have that trope image, or tell your readers what they can expect to read from your amazing story. The next section, which is pretty close to the top still, should be what is that unique element or the why Kickstarter section. In other words, why should your readers back your campaign now instead of waiting for the retail version, which is probably going to be cheaper than the Kickstarter version? Do you have colored illustrations, specialty art, amazing swag? What is it that's going to make them want to stick around? What is going to draw their attention? The next section is going to be your reward tiers section. Yes, you do have a reward tiers on the column bar on the right-hand side, but you're going to want to have them in the story as well because you can explain them a little bit better here, and the visuals are much better in the story section of your campaign than they are in the reward column, particularly for mobile users, and let's be honest, most of us are mobile users. You're going to notice that my reward tier graphics for the column and the story are similar, but also somewhat different. In my column, I keep my reward graphics very plain. There's no background because they're small and I want the goodies to be easily seen. But in the story, I add in a little bit more flair to try to tie it into the overall theme and aesthetic of my entire campaign. Again, it's really important to make sure that this is aesthetically pleasing. So continue to add in maybe videos of the product, maybe even some aesthetic stock photos if you don't have too many photos of your own product, but just keep it fun and beautiful and bright. Okay, the next section is our stretch goal section. If you're setting a low funding goal, then you still want to keep the pressure on after you hit your low funding goal. So your stretch goals are basically what are these goodies and incentives that you're going to give your backers to encourage them to either pledge higher or to share about your campaign so that others pledge to the campaign to help you fund even more incredible goodies like extra illustrations or bonus chapters. In other words, these are not your stretch goals are not going to be your basic things like cover art or editing. Your backers are coming into this with the understanding that the book they are pledging to is going to have cover art and it is going to be edited whether or not you met a stretch goal. I'll talk more about stretch goals in another video. Okay, the next section is the add-on section. This is a list of items of swag or books that you could offer on the side if people want to pledge and they want more that's in their tier. For instance, maybe I'm going to pledge to a lower tier that only has 1 book, but I want 2 books. I, as a backer, cannot pledge to multiple tiers. I can only pledge to 1 tier, but I can add things to my tiers in that add-on section. The last element that is common in all successful Kickstarters is a Meet the Team section. Ideally, obviously, include yourself. Your backers want to know who it is that they are supporting, but also bring in your other people who helped bring your idea to life. Who was your cover designer? Who was your editor, your illustrator? Did anyone do your swag designs? Right? It's just good manners. Thank the people who helped you. And this last section is required by Kickstarter. So in this risks and challenges section, you want to explain to your readers what are the possible risks of demand copies? What is your contingency plan if things go wrong? Also, make sure to indicate where you're at in the completion stage of your novel and your plan to meet that publication deadline, should you have a publication deadline in place, which you should. Like I said, not every single Kickstarter is going to have these elements, and some Kickstarters might have different elements, but these are the typical elements that I see in most successful Kickstarters. I know that this was a really brief overview of all of those sections, but my videos can only be so long. So what I've done is in my ebook, I have explained all of these sections in far more detail and given a lot more examples and helping you brainstorm ideas on how to fill out these sections for yourself. So again, if you're interested in that ebook, you can do two things. One, you can follow my campaign that is happening in less than a week because one of my stretch goals is this ebook that every backer gets for free. Or two, you can comment ebook down below and I'll send you a link for where you can sign up to know when this ebook goes on sale. All right, class, get to work. Go work on those Kickstarters, and if you have any questions, put them in the comments below.